Alex loved the feeling of the tennis racket in his hand. The grip was just right, worn smooth from years of practice and matches. He bounced the bright yellow ball, the sound echoing in the mostly empty stadium. The sun was just beginning to peek over the high walls, casting long shadows across the blue court. He breathed in deeply, the crisp morning air filling his lungs. This was his happy place. Alex wasn't just any tennis player, he was a rising star. People whispered his name with excitement, predicting great things for his future. He had powerful serves and lightning-fast reflexes. But there was one shadow that always seemed to loom over him, Mark. Mark was Alex's rival, his tennis nemesis. They had been playing against each other since they were kids. Mark was a year older, always just a little bit ahead. He was known for his cool head under pressure and his ability to anticipate Alex's every move. Alex had beaten Mark a few times, but those wins felt like flukes, lucky breaks. Mark always seemed to come back stronger, ready to remind Alex who was still on top. The losses to Mark stung. They weren't just defeats on the court, they felt like personal failures. Alex knew he was good, maybe even great, but Mark made him doubt himself. He would lie awake at night, replaying their matches in his head, analyzing every mistake, every missed opportunity. He trained harder than anyone he knew. Hours upon hours were spent perfecting his serve, strengthening his backhand, and improving his footwork. He watched videos of Mark's matches, studying his style, looking for weaknesses. He even hired a sports psychologist to help him deal with the mental pressure. Despite all his efforts, Mark still seemed to have his number. It was like he knew what Alex was going to do before Alex even did it. This made Alex even more frustrated, and sometimes, even angry. He wanted to beat Mark more than anything in the world. He craved the feeling of victory, the satisfaction of finally overcoming his rival. More than that, he wanted to prove to himself that he was good enough. He wanted to silence the doubts that whispered in his ear after every loss. He wanted to show everyone, including Mark, that he was a champion. The stadium was his world, and he knew he had to keep fighting for his place in it. The air crackled with anticipation. The stadium was packed, a sea of faces buzzing with excitement. Banners waved, and the roar of the crowd was almost deafening. This was it, the final of the Grand Slam tournament. Alex took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. He walked onto the court, the bright lights shining down on him. He could see his family in the stands, their faces filled with pride and support. He gave them a small wave, a silent promise to do his best. Across the net stood Mark. He looked calm and confident, his eyes focused and determined. He gave Alex a nod, a gesture of respect, but Alex knew that beneath the surface was a fierce competitor. This wasn't just another match, it was a battle for supremacy. The umpire announced their names, and the crowd erupted. Alex tried to block out the noise, to focus on the game ahead. He knew this was his chance to prove himself, to finally overcome Mark and achieve his dream. The first set began, and Alex started strong. His serves were powerful and accurate, and his ground strokes were finding their mark. He won the first few games, and the crowd roared its approval. He could feel the momentum shifting in his favor. Maybe, just maybe, this was his day. But Mark wasn't going to give up easily. He adjusted his strategy, targeting Alex's weaker backhand and forcing him to move around the court. Alex started to make mistakes, his shots going wide or into the net. Mark capitalized on these errors, winning game after game. The score was tied, and the tension in the stadium was palpable. Every point was a struggle, a battle of wills. Alex could feel the pressure mounting, the weight of expectations bearing down on him. He tried to stay calm, to focus on each point, but the doubt started to creep back into his mind. He glanced at his coach in the stands. His coach gave him a look of encouragement, a reminder to stay positive and trust his training. Alex took another deep breath, trying to regain his focus. The set went to a tiebreaker, and the atmosphere was electric. Every point was crucial, every shot had the potential to change the course of the match. Alex and Mark traded points, neither willing to give an inch. The crowd was on the edge of their seats, their cheers and gasps echoing through the stadium. This was tennis at its finest, a display of skill, athleticism, and mental toughness. The winner of this set would have a huge advantage. Alex knew he had to give it everything he had. The tiebreaker was a roller coaster. Alex won a point with a blistering ace, followed by Mark answering with an impossible angle shot that clipped the line. The score was 6-6. 1 point away from winning the first set. Alex served. Mark returned, deep and hard. Alex scrambled, his backhand awkward. He sent the ball long. Mark had set point. The crowd was a roaring blur. Alex tried to block it out, but the pressure was immense. Mark served, a slow, looping serve designed to disrupt Alex's rhythm. Alex stepped into the court, trying to attack the serve. He swung with all his might, but he mistimed the shot. The ball sailed wide. Mark won the first set. Alex felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. He knew he could have played better. He had let the pressure get to him. He looked at his coach, who gave him a reassuring nod. It wasn't over yet. The second set was a disaster. Alex's confidence was shattered. His serves lost their power, his ground strokes lacked precision, and his footwork became sluggish. Mark, on the other hand, was playing flawlessly. He anticipated Alex's every move, hitting winners at will. Alex started making unforced errors, shots that he would normally make with ease. He double faulted, missed easy volleys, and hit balls into the net. The crowd started to quiet down, sensing that the match was slipping away from Alex. Mark won game after game, and the score quickly became lopsided. Alex tried to fight back, to regain some momentum, but it was no use. He was mentally and physically exhausted. He felt like he was trapped in a nightmare, unable to wake up. The set ended quickly, a crushing defeat for Alex. Mark had won 6-1. Alex walked to his chair, his head hanging low. He felt humiliated and ashamed. He had let his family, his coach, and his fans down. He had let himself down. He knew he had to say something to his coach, but he didn't know what to say. He had no excuses. He had simply been outplayed. His coach approached him, putting a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay, Alex," he said. "It's just one match. You'll have other opportunities." But Alex didn't believe him. He felt like this defeat would haunt him forever. He felt like he would never be able to beat Mark. He felt like his dream of becoming a champion was slipping away. He glanced at the scoreboard, the numbers mocking him. He knew that his reputation would suffer after this. People would say that he choked under pressure, that he wasn't good enough to compete at the highest level. He was utterly dejected. He could see Mark celebrating with his team, the joy on their faces a stark contrast to the despair he felt inside. The locker room was a lonely place. The sounds of celebration from Mark's side echoed faintly through the walls, a constant reminder of Alex's failure. He sat slumped on a bench, staring blankly at the floor. His tennis bag lay open beside him, his rackets untouched. Usually, he would carefully clean and store his equipment after a match, a ritual of respect for the game. But today, he couldn't bring himself to do it. He felt numb, drained of all energy and emotion. The defeat had been so complete, so devastating, that it had left him empty. He closed his eyes, trying to block out the memories of the match. But the images kept flashing through his mind, Mark's perfect serves, his impossible returns, Alex's own mistakes, his missed opportunities. He replayed the tiebreaker in his head, agonizing over every point. What if he had hit the ball a little harder? What if he had chosen a different strategy? What if he had just been a little bit luckier? He knew that dwelling on the past wouldn't change anything, but he couldn't help himself. He was trapped in a cycle of self-blame and regret. He felt like he had let everyone down, his family, his coach, his fans, and most of all, himself. He picked up his phone and saw a flood of messages. Some were from friends and family offering words of encouragement. Others were from fans expressing their disappointment. He didn't have the strength to respond to any of them. He just wanted to disappear, to escape from the shame and humiliation. He thought about quitting tennis altogether. Maybe he wasn't cut out for this life. Maybe he didn't have what it takes to compete at the highest level. Maybe he should just give up and find something else to do. The thought was tempting. It would be so much easier to walk away, to avoid the pain and pressure of competition. But deep down, he knew that he couldn't do it. Tennis was more than just a game to him, it was his passion, his life. He had dedicated years to perfecting his craft, to pursuing his dream. He couldn't just give up now, after coming so far. He knew that he had a long and difficult road ahead. He would have to work harder than ever before to overcome this defeat. He would have to analyze his mistakes, correct his weaknesses, and rebuild his confidence. But he was determined to do it. He was determined to prove everyone wrong, including himself. He would come back stronger and better than ever before. He would show the world that he was a champion. Even if he didn't feel like one at the moment. He was sad, but the sadness was slowly being replaced by resolve. The next few days were a blur of negativity. Alex avoided the tennis courts, unable to face the reminders of his defeat. He stayed in his room, curtains drawn, the television muted. He barely ate, his appetite gone. He felt like he was trapped in a dark hole, unable to climb out. He saw the news reports, the headlines screaming about his loss. The commentators were critical, questioning his mental toughness and his ability to perform under pressure. The social media was even worse, filled with insults and taunts. He felt like everyone was laughing at him. He received a visit from his parents. They tried to comfort him, to tell him that they were proud of him no matter what. But their words didn't reach him. He felt like he had disappointed them, that he had let them down after all their sacrifices. His coach also came to see him. He didn't offer empty platitudes or false hope. He was honest and direct. He told Alex that he had played poorly, that he had made mistakes. But he also told him that he believed in him, that he knew he was capable of much more. He said that this defeat could be a turning point, a chance to learn and grow. Alex listened, but he wasn't convinced. He felt like his reputation was ruined, that he would never be taken seriously again. He imagined people whispering behind his back, calling him a choker, a loser. He started to question everything he had ever believed about himself. Was he really as good as he thought he was? Was he just a flash in the pan, destined to fade away? Maybe Mark was right, maybe he wasn't cut out to be a champion. The thought of giving up became more and more appealing. He could enroll in college, get a normal job, and live a normal life. He wouldn't have to face the pressure, the scrutiny, the constant fear of failure. He could just be ordinary. He even started looking at college brochures, imagining himself studying history or literature. He pictured himself making new friends, going to parties, and enjoying a life free from the demands of professional tennis. But deep down, he knew that he couldn't do it. He couldn't abandon his dream, no matter how painful it was. Tennis was a part of him, woven into the fabric of his being. He couldn't imagine his life without it. He was disappointed in his performance, but he knew that he couldn't let disappointment define him. He had to keep fighting. The turning point came on a rainy afternoon. Alex was sitting in his room, staring out the window, when his grandfather, a former tennis coach himself, knocked on the door. Alex hadn't seen him much lately, lost as he was in his own misery. His grandfather was a quiet man, not one for grand pronouncements or sentimental speeches. But he had a way of cutting through the noise and getting to the heart of the matter. He sat down beside Alex on the bed, not saying a word. He simply put a hand on his grandson's shoulder, a gesture of silent support. After a few minutes, he spoke, his voice low and gentle. "I watched the match, Alex," he said. "It wasn't your best performance." Alex braced himself for criticism, but it didn't come. "But I also saw something else," his grandfather continued. "I saw your fight. I saw your determination. Even when things were tough, you never gave up." He paused, looking Alex in the eye. "Do you remember when you were 10 years old, and you broke your arm?" Alex nodded, recalling the memory. "The doctor said you might never play tennis again. But you didn't listen. You worked hard, you pushed yourself, and you came back stronger than ever." His grandfather squeezed his shoulder. "You've overcome challenges before, Alex. This is just another one. It's not the end of the world. It's just a setback." He reminded Alex of his past victories, of the tournaments he had won, of the opponents he had defeated. He spoke of his talent, his skill, and his potential. He reminded him of the joy he felt when he played tennis, the feeling of hitting a perfect shot, the thrill of competition. "You have something special, Alex," his grandfather said. "Don't let one loss take that away from you. Don't let Mark define you. You are more than just a tennis player. You are a fighter, a champion. You have the heart of a lion." He stood up, his eyes filled with warmth and encouragement. "I know you can do this, Alex. I believe in you." He walked to the door, then turned back. "And remember," he said with a wink, "even champions lose sometimes. It's how you respond that matters." His grandfather left the room, leaving Alex alone with his thoughts. His words resonated with him, stirring something deep inside. He realized that he had been focusing on his failure, dwelling on his weaknesses. He had forgotten about his strengths, his past successes, and his potential. He thought about his grandfather's words, about his unwavering belief in him. He knew that he couldn't let him down. He couldn't let himself down. He had to get back on the court and fight. He had to prove to himself, and to everyone else, that he was a champion. The sadness was still there, but it was now mixed with a renewed sense of hope and determination. He knew what he had to do. He had to work harder than ever before. He had to become stronger, both mentally and physically. He had to be better than Mark. The next morning, Alex was the first one on the court. The sun was barely up, casting a golden glow across the empty stadium. He felt a surge of energy, a burning desire to improve. He was no longer the defeated player who had slunk off the court a few days earlier. He was a warrior, ready to fight for his dream. He started with the basics, hitting hundreds of forehands and backhands, focusing on his technique and consistency. He worked on his serve, trying to add more power and spin. He practiced his volleys, his drop shots, and his overheads. He pushed himself to the limit, determined to erase the memory of his mistakes. He analyzed the video of his match against Mark, studying his opponent's strengths and weaknesses. He realized that Mark had exploited his weaker backhand and his tendency to become passive under pressure. He vowed to address those flaws, to transform them into strengths. He consulted with his coach, devising a new training plan that focused on his specific needs. They worked on improving his footwork, his agility, and his stamina. They also worked on his mental game, teaching him how to stay calm and focused under pressure. Alex committed himself to a rigorous training schedule. He spent hours on the court, honing his skills. He ran miles every day, building his endurance. He lifted weights, strengthening his body. He ate a healthy diet, fueling his performance. He also sought out new challenges, playing against different opponents, experimenting with different strategies. He wanted to become a more versatile and adaptable player, one who could handle any situation. He even started practicing meditation, learning how to quiet his mind and control his emotions. He realized that tennis was not just a physical game, it was also a mental one. He needed to be as strong in his mind as he was in his body. He pushed himself harder than ever before, driven by a burning desire to beat Mark. He used the memory of his defeat as motivation, reminding himself of the pain and humiliation he had felt. He never wanted to experience that again. He visualized himself playing against Mark, imagining himself hitting perfect shots, making impossible returns, and winning the match. He practiced his celebrations, imagining the joy and satisfaction of finally overcoming his rival. He was determined to leave no stone unturned. He knew that he had to give it everything he had. He had to be willing to sacrifice everything to achieve his dream. He was ready to work hard, to push himself, and to become the best tennis player he could be. He was ready to face Mark again. He was ready to win. Days bled into weeks as Alex relentlessly pursued his transformation. The sun became his alarm clock, waking him before dawn for grueling sessions on the court. Sweat poured from his brow as he slammed serve after serve, each shot a focused effort to add power and precision. The rhythmic thump of the ball against the court and the whoosh of his racket slicing through the air filled the early morning silence. He wasn't just hitting the ball, he was attacking his weakness, reshaping his serve into a weapon. He ran until his lungs burned, pushing his body to its absolute limit. The track became his battleground, each lap a victory against fatigue and doubt. He visualized Mark on the other side of the net, picturing himself chasing down every shot, never giving up, never slowing down. He imagined the late stages of a grueling match, when his opponent would be gasping for air, and he would still be running strong, ready to pounce. His coach drilled him relentlessly, forcing him to hit hundreds of backhands, each one a conscious effort to improve his technique and consistency. He practiced cross-court shots, down-the-line shots, and everything in between. He visualized different scenarios, anticipating Mark's every move, preparing to respond with speed and accuracy. He spent hours in the gym, lifting weights, strengthening his muscles, and building his core. He focused on exercises that would improve his power, his agility, and his balance. He knew that he needed to be stronger and more athletic than ever before if he wanted to compete with Mark. He worked with a sports psychologist, learning techniques to manage his stress, control his emotions, and stay focused under pressure. He practiced mindfulness, visualizing success, and developing positive self-talk. He learned to quiet the negative voices in his head and to believe in his own abilities. He studied videos of Mark's matches, analyzing his strengths and weaknesses, looking for patterns and tendencies. He identified Mark's favorite shots, his preferred strategies, and his pressure points. He devised counter-strategies, preparing to exploit his opponent's weaknesses and neutralize his strengths. Evenings were spent meditating, visualizing his success. He saw himself on the court, calm and composed, hitting perfect shots, making impossible returns, and winning the match. He imagined the roar of the crowd, the taste of victory, and the satisfaction of finally overcoming his rival. His hands blistered, his muscles ached, and his mind screamed for rest, but Alex refused to yield. He knew that every drop of sweat, every ounce of effort, was bringing him closer to his goal. He was transforming himself into a different player, a better player, a champion. He was ready for the rematch. He was ready to win. The montage was his story now. He was writing it with sweat and hard work. With his training complete, Alex felt a nervous excitement bubbling inside him. He was eager to test his new skills and strategies in competition. He decided to enter a series of smaller tournaments, events that would allow him to ease back into the pressure of match play without the intense spotlight of a major championship. The first tournament was in a small town, far from the glitz and glamour of the professional circuit. The crowds were smaller, the stakes were lower, but the competition was still fierce. Alex felt a bit rusty at first, making a few unforced errors and struggling to find his rhythm. But as the tournament progressed, he started to find his groove. His serve was more powerful and accurate than ever before. His backhand was solid and reliable. His footwork was quick and agile. He was moving well, hitting the ball cleanly, and making smart decisions. He was playing with confidence and aggression. He won his first few matches easily, dispatching his opponents with a combination of power and finesse. He could feel his confidence growing with each victory. He was starting to believe in himself again. In the semi-finals, he faced a tough opponent, a seasoned veteran who knew how to grind out points and exploit weaknesses. Alex found himself in a tight battle, trading shots and fighting for every point. He stayed calm and focused, trusting his training and refusing to give in. He won the match in a close 3 sets, proving to himself that he could handle pressure and adversity. The final was against a young up-and-comer, a player with a big game and a lot of potential. Alex knew that he couldn't take his opponent lightly. He came out strong, dictating the pace and controlling the match from the start. He won the first set easily, but his opponent fought back in the second, pushing Alex to his limit. Alex responded with even more intensity, raising his level of play and refusing to let his opponent gain any momentum. He hit winners from all angles, making impossible returns and dominating the net. He won the second set, and the match, convincingly. He raised his arms in triumph, a smile spreading across his face. He had done it. He had won his first tournament since his devastating defeat. He felt a surge of pride and satisfaction. He had proven to himself that he could overcome adversity and achieve his goals. He continued to enter smaller tournaments, each one a chance to hone his skills and build his confidence. He won most of his matches, playing with consistency and aggression. He was no longer the hesitant and unsure player who had crumbled under pressure. He was a confident and determined competitor, ready to face any challenge. He was ready for the rematch with Mark. He knew that it wouldn't be easy. He knew that Mark would be a tough opponent. But he also knew that he was ready. He had worked hard, he had learned from his mistakes, and he had transformed himself into a better player. He was ready to win. People started whispering again, but this time, it was different. They were whispering about his comeback, his resilience, and his unwavering determination. They were whispering about a champion. The tennis world buzzed with anticipation. Alex's remarkable comeback had captured everyone's attention. His dominant performances in the smaller tournaments had silenced his critics and rekindled the hopes of his fans. And now, the moment everyone had been waiting for was finally here. Alex and Mark were set to face each other again in the final of another major tournament. The tournament had been a grueling test of skill and endurance. Both Alex and Mark had navigated a challenging draw, defeating tough opponents and showcasing their incredible talent. But now, only 2 players remained, the 2 rivals destined to clash once more on the grandest stage. The atmosphere leading up to the final was electric. The media was in a frenzy, hyping the match as a battle for supremacy, a clash of titans, a chance for Alex to avenge his devastating defeat. The stadium was sold out, packed with fans eager to witness the epic showdown. Alex tried to block out the noise, to stay focused on the task at hand. He knew that this match was more than just a game, it was a test of his character, a measure of his resilience, a chance to prove that he had what it takes to be a champion. He had prepared meticulously for this moment. He had studied Mark's game, analyzed his weaknesses, and developed a strategy to exploit them. He had worked on his own strengths, honing his skills and building his confidence. He was ready to give it everything he had. He walked onto the court, the roar of the crowd washing over him. He could see his family in the stands, their faces filled with hope and encouragement. He gave them a nod, a silent promise to do his best. Across the net stood Mark, his eyes focused and determined. He looked confident and composed, but Alex could sense a hint of unease in his demeanor. He knew that Mark was aware of Alex's transformation, of his renewed strength and determination. The umpire announced their names, and the crowd erupted. Alex took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. He reminded himself of all the hard work he had put in, of all the sacrifices he had made. He told himself that he was ready, that he was capable, that he was going to win. He looked at his coach, who gave him a knowing smile. His coach had been with him every step of the way, guiding him, supporting him, and believing in him even when he had doubted himself. Alex was grateful for his coach's unwavering faith. He bounced the ball, the sound echoing in the stadium. He looked at Mark, his eyes filled with determination. He knew that this was his chance to rewrite history, to erase the memory of his past defeat, and to claim his place as a champion. He was ready to fight. He was ready to win. The anticipation was killing him, but underneath it, he was ready to face Mark. He was ready to show the world the new Alex. The first set was a whirlwind of power and precision. Alex came out firing, unleashing his newly improved serve with blistering speed and pinpoint accuracy. Mark, however, was ready. He returned serve after serve, forcing Alex into long rallies and testing his patience. The points were hard-fought, each player pushing the other to their limits. Alex's backhand, once a liability, was now a weapon, allowing him to dictate the pace of the rallies and control the court. Mark, however, was not backing down. He used his experience and guile to frustrate Alex, mixing up his shots and forcing him to move around the court. The set went to a tiebreaker, just like their previous match. The tension in the stadium was palpable. Every point was crucial, every shot had the potential to change the momentum of the match. Alex reminded himself to stay calm, to focus on each point, and to trust his training. He won the first few points, building a comfortable lead. But Mark fought back, winning several points in a row and tying the score. The crowd was on the edge of their seats, their cheers and gasps echoing through the stadium. Alex dug deep, finding a new level of intensity and focus. He hit a series of winners, showcasing his incredible skill and determination. He won the tiebreaker, and the first set, avenging his loss in their previous match. The second set was even more intense. Mark raised his level of play, attacking Alex's weaknesses and putting him under constant pressure. Alex responded with resilience and determination, refusing to give in. The points were longer, the rallies were more grueling, and the tension was almost unbearable. Both players were exhausted, but neither was willing to concede. The set went back and forth, with each player trading breaks of serve. At 5-5, Alex found himself facing break point. He knew that this was a crucial moment in the match. He took a deep breath, visualizing his success, and reminding himself that he was ready for this moment. He hit a powerful serve, forcing Mark into a defensive position. Mark returned, but Alex was ready. He stepped into the court and ripped a forehand winner down the line, saving the break point and leveling the score. He won the next game, breaking Mark's serve and giving himself a chance to serve for the set. The crowd erupted, sensing that Alex was on the verge of victory. He stepped to the line, his heart pounding in his chest. He bounced the ball, took a deep breath, and served. The ball sailed over the net, landing perfectly in the service box. Mark returned, but Alex was ready. He hit a forehand winner, sealing the victory. He won the set 7-5. The crowd went wild. Throughout the match, Alex faced numerous challenges that tested his skills and his mental fortitude. One key moment came in the first set tiebreaker. Down 4-1, Mark started to unleash his signature cross-court forehand, forcing Alex wide and putting him on the defensive. In the past, Alex would have crumbled under this pressure, allowing Mark to dictate the pace and control the points. But this time, Alex was different. He had anticipated this strategy, and he was prepared to counter it. Instead of retreating further, he stepped into the court, taking the ball early and redirecting it down the line with a sharp, angled backhand. The shot caught Mark by surprise, forcing him to scramble and ultimately hitting the ball into the net. The crowd erupted, sensing the shift in momentum. Alex had not only defended against Mark's strength, but he had turned it against him, showcasing his improved backhand and his tactical awareness. Another crucial moment came in the second set, with the score tied at 4-4. Mark, sensing Alex's fatigue, started to shorten the points, attacking the net and putting pressure on Alex's volleys. In the past, Alex's net play had been a weakness, leading to easy points for his opponents. But this time, Alex was ready. He had spent countless hours practicing his volleys, improving his technique and his reflexes. He met Mark's aggression with his own, hitting crisp, angled volleys that left Mark scrambling and unable to respond. He won several points at the net, showcasing his improved volleying skills and his confidence in his ability to attack. He had turned another weakness into a strength, proving that he was a more complete and versatile player. Perhaps the most important challenge Alex faced was the mental one. Throughout the match, Mark tried to get into his head, using gamesmanship and trash talk to try to rattle him and break his focus. In the past, Alex would have allowed Mark's antics to distract him, leading to mistakes and unforced errors. But this time, Alex was prepared. He had worked with a sports psychologist, learning techniques to manage his emotions and stay focused under pressure. He refused to let Mark's words affect him, maintaining a calm and composed demeanor throughout the match. He focused on the task at hand, reminding himself of his goals and his training. He blocked out the noise and the distractions, staying present in the moment and trusting his abilities. He had demonstrated incredible mental toughness, proving that he was not just a skilled tennis player, but a true champion. He was truly able to block out the noise and focus on the game. He would not be rattled by Mark this time. He was ready. He was focused. He was going to win. Alex stood on the court, the roar of the crowd washing over him. He had done it. He had defeated Mark. He had won the tournament. A wave of emotion washed over him, joy, relief, and an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. He raised his arms in triumph, a wide smile spreading across his face. The crowd erupted, their cheers and applause echoing through the stadium. Confetti rained down from the sky, creating a vibrant and celebratory atmosphere. He looked towards his family in the stands, their faces beaming with pride. He saw his grandfather, who gave him a knowing nod, a silent acknowledgement of his hard work and perseverance. He saw his coach, who had tears in his eyes, a testament to their shared journey and the sacrifices they had made. He walked to the net, shaking hands with Mark, who offered a gracious congratulations. There was a newfound respect between them, a recognition of the intense battle they had just fought. Alex knew that Mark would be back, stronger and more determined than ever. He accepted the trophy, holding it high above his head. The crowd roared its approval, chanting his name. He felt a surge of gratitude for their support, for their unwavering belief in him. He gave a speech, thanking his family, his coach, his fans, and everyone who had helped him along the way. He spoke of his struggles, his doubts, and his determination to overcome adversity. He shared his message of hope and resilience, inspiring others to never give up on their dreams. He walked off the court, the crowd still cheering his name. He had not only won a tournament, he had won back his confidence, his reputation, and his sense of self-worth. He had proven to himself, and to the world, that he was a champion. The victory was sweet, a culmination of months of hard work, sacrifice, and unwavering determination. He had transformed himself from a defeated and demoralized player into a confident and resilient champion. He had overcome his doubts, conquered his fears, and achieved his dream. He knew that this was just the beginning. He had many more challenges ahead, many more tournaments to win, and many more opponents to face. But he was ready. He had learned from his past mistakes, he had grown as a player and as a person, and he was prepared to embrace the future with confidence and optimism. He celebrated his victory with his team, enjoying the moment and savoring the taste of success. He knew that this was a moment he would never forget, a reminder of what he was capable of achieving when he set his mind to it. The victory was more than just a win, it was a redemption. It was a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of self-belief, and the transformative power of hard work. Alex was not just a champion, he was an inspiration. He was a symbol of hope, a reminder that anything is possible with dedication, determination, and an unwavering belief in oneself. He had finally found victory and redemption. He was a champion, at last. In the quiet moments after the celebration subsided, Alex found himself reflecting on his journey. He sat alone in his hotel room, the trophy gleaming on the table beside him. The exhaustion was starting to set in, but his mind was racing, replaying the events of the past few months. He realized that his defeat against Mark had been a turning point in his career. It had been a painful and humiliating experience, but it had also been a catalyst for growth and transformation. He had learned more from that loss than he had from any of his victories. He understood that defeat was not the opposite of success, it was a stepping stone to success. It was a chance to learn from his mistakes, to identify his weaknesses, and to improve himself. He had also learned the importance of hard work and perseverance. There were no shortcuts to success. It took dedication, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to his goals. He knew that his journey was far from over. There would be more challenges ahead, more defeats to overcome, and more victories to celebrate. But he was ready for whatever the future held. He had the skills, the confidence, and the mental toughness to compete at the highest level. He looked forward to a bright future in his tennis career. He dreamed of winning more tournaments, of reaching the top of the rankings, and of inspiring others with his story. He knew that it wouldn't be easy, but he was willing to work hard and to make the sacrifices necessary to achieve his goals. He was no longer afraid of Mark. He respected him as a worthy opponent, a player who pushed him to be his best. He knew that they would face each other again in the future, and he looked forward to the challenge. He had proven to himself that he could compete with Mark, that he could beat him, and that he could achieve his dreams. He thought about all the people who had supported him along the way. His family, his coach, his friends, and his fans had all played a crucial role in his success. He was grateful for their unwavering belief in him, and he was determined to make them proud. He knew that he couldn't have done it without them. They had been there for him through the tough times, offering encouragement and support. They had celebrated his victories, sharing in his joy and excitement. They had been his rock, his inspiration, and his motivation. He picked up his phone and called his parents, thanking them for their love and support. He called his coach, expressing his gratitude for his guidance and mentorship. He posted a message on social media, thanking his fans for their unwavering belief in him. He knew that he was fortunate to have so many people in his life who cared about him and believed in him. He was determined to use his success to make a positive impact on the world, to inspire others to pursue their dreams, and to never give up on themselves. He was Alex, the tennis champion. He had overcome adversity, conquered his fears, and achieved his dreams. He was ready for the future, confident in his abilities and determined to make a difference. He was no longer defined by his defeats, but inspired by them. He was ready to continue his journey, knowing that the best was yet to come. He had a bright future ahead of him. He respected Mark, but he was ready for anything.